Woof, woof, big dog. What up, everybody? Welcome to Coffee Hour. My name is Paul Abernathy. If you don't know who I am, Google me for a second. I've been serving the industry for nearly 40 years, teaching the National Electrical Code and hosting various shows, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, other type of social media platforms, and I've been doing it before there was a social media. So again, that's dating myself a little bit, but I've been around and I enjoy connecting with everybody every morning, Monday through Friday, in order to have conversations about the National Electrical Code. I love this trade. I love this industry. I love talking about it. I love answering questions on it. And I love getting your day started. So hater or non-hater or lover, or keep it personal if you're a lover, I'm just saying, we enjoy having you here, joining us every morning for Coffee Hour. So this show is sponsored by TradeHog. If you've never used TradeHog, it is a artificial intelligence model that's designed to help people find code references on job sites, in projects, doing reports, things like that. And if you are a subscriber to TradeHog, we appreciate it. But there's also an Office Hog that's built into the basic and the advanced program that allows you to ask other technical questions like tax questions and all this other stuff. So check that out. It's available at tradehog.net, .com, or .org. It really doesn't matter. All of them lead to the same thing. So again, thanks for joining me. And if you're looking for a really good program to learn the National Electrical Code, we encourage you to check out fasttracksystem.com. We have exam prep for 2020 and 2023, basic or enhanced. Enhanced just gives you access to Fast Track's Tube for 12 months, and you can choose to subscribe if you wish. But we also sell quite a bit of merch over on our site as well. And you will see there we have the new NEC Code Strong minimalist wallets. Again, you can engrave it with your name on it. Do me a favor, just as a shout out for everybody that buys products from us, we appreciate it. Anything that's engravable, please make sure that you put in the comments when you check out what you want engraved on it so that we can make sure, because other than that, we have to email back and forth to try to find out exactly what you want on it. Okay, I'm just getting some stuff out of the way first before we do some shout outs. Remember, I live vicariously through you, so do me a favor in the comments, whatever platform you're on, let us know who you are, where you're from, what you got going on. If you're a student, today we're talking residential. So this is part 3 of residential goodies. And we'll be finishing up with detached garages and all those laundry areas and all that kind of other stuff. So bring your questions. As we said yesterday, if you have any questions, anything we talked about, AFCI, GFCI, feel free to bring them up. And I'm more than happy to elaborate on them in this episode. Try to keep the topics germane to what we're talking about in residential, okay? If you have any very detailed question you want answered, please do me a favor. Go over to paulabernathy.com. It's free. It costs you absolutely zero, okay? So there's nothing you can gripe about. If you've got a code question, that's where you go, okay? All right. But we will do our best to answer whatever you have based on what we're dealing with today. So anyway, this is the latest ones that are added to the website. You don't get to pick the color. We're offering them at really cheap prices, like 15 bucks plus shipping for these minimalist wallets. It's all I use now. If you come to Vegas and you come to see me tomorrow, remember, Coffee Hour is not going to be live Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of this week. It'll be replays. If you want to come see me and you want to see my minimalist wallet, come on out and join me in Vegas for the NFPA convention. I'm going to be out there for the Knitmams doing my part, and I will have my minimalist wallet with me because I travel everywhere with it. It's the only thing that I use, and it sure has saved my sciatic nerve, and it also has kept me from collecting a bunch of wasteful crap in my wallet. I'm just saying. All right, would love to see you out there at the NFPA convention. It's a great time to go. I'm not going to be there today, tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be there, but I won't get there until late. I'm not going to be walking the floor, okay? So don't look for me out on the floor or at any booth. I'm going to be only there for the Knitmams. So I'm arriving tomorrow afternoon, and I'll be there till Saturday morning when I fly out. So we'll be able to hook up if you're out there. On Wednesday afternoon, Thursday, or even Friday. If you're interested, I'll be there. Just holla at me. Holla at your boy. All right, so real quick, before I get started, as you probably saw on social media, we have sent out, again, we were slow. I apologize on sending out your Q1 winnings, all that I could send out. Jeff had done his due diligence, but that's all I could send out. Just be patient with us. If you don't get what you won within 2 weeks, just let us know. But I do have some folks that may be on here that won during the Q1 that we cannot find your information to mail you your stuff. Okay, so everybody else should be taken care of. But I'm going to read off these names the best I can read them off so that you know to send us something. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you the exact address you send it. Okay. And I'm going to tell you what to put in the subject line. Okay. All right. So first of all, the Ultimate Coins, we were not able to find the mailing address. Okay. For D'Angelo Laranega. D'Angelo Laranega. If you're on here, we could not find your information. Trenton Dormert. We could not find your mailing address. Miles Mahoney Music. Now, I know you've been on here a lot. We could not find. Now, here's the thing to remember. When you send us something, you got to make sure that you also let us know what your username was on the platform that you won so we can cross-reference it. People are sometimes sending stuff and they're using their name. I don't know who you are. So, I don't know what your username is on the platform that you won. That's how we cross-reference. So, you make sure you include all that information. I need what your username is on the platform that you won on so we can cross-reference it, as well as your name and your mailing address. Okay, so D'Angelo Laranega, Trenton Dormert, and Miles Mahoney Music. We did not send out your coin because we don't have a mailing address for it. Let's see, who else? Okay, the Voltage Drop card. Mike Caldry. Mike, you won a Voltage Drop coin. A card, plus I think you've got a wire waffle. We cannot find your address. Now, whether you sent something, you may have just used your username, and we didn't connect it with your name, Mike, because Mike Caldry is your username on the platform. So you have to let us know. And then the last one, well, there's two more, but the last one is the conductor length card, which was, we got everybody mailed out except for Ray Lavenders. Ray Lavanders. We did not get your mailing address. You have to let us know that you won something. So send us an email at support, SUPPORT, at Fast Tracks System, just like it sounds right here. Support at fasttracksystem.com. And in the subject line, put winner and then put your information below and we'll coordinate it. So we need your name, your username you're using on your platform, and your mailing address so we can get that out to you. We definitely want to get you the stuff you want. Everybody else, we got you covered. Should be coming in the mail. Don't ask. It should be coming. Red Dog and Manny Sanchez, you won the custom plates. We are waiting on a jig to come for those custom plates, but we will coordinate with you on those custom plates, so relax. Those that won the Trade Hog, you should have something clarified within the next week on that for the annual. There was a little hiccup in that, but that's nothing to mail you for that. So we'll get you squared away. As far as the courses, everybody should already be set up and good to go. So that was it. Wire waffles, most of them went out. I will tell you, if you won multiple wire waffles, you're probably still only going to get one because I got limited supply of the wire waffles. We're not here to be your source of wire waffles. So if you win 2 or 3, so do me a favor. If you won a wire waffle in the past and we spin the wheel and it hits you again, do me a favor. Tell me, say, spin again or do something else, because there's a high probability when it gets over to a little girl that we hired for shipping, she's got names over there that already had wire waffles sent out. She's not going to send out multiple wire waffles because we want as many people to get a chance to mess with them as they can. So we're not going to be a wire waffle source and send somebody 3 or 4 or 5 wire waffles. Okay, you get what I'm saying? So she'll keep track of that. So, Ben, I'm going to let you guys be good stewards of that. And if you've already won a wire waffle, you go, dude, Paul already won one and got one coming. Okay. All right. So now, if you did win something and you don't get it within the next 2 weeks, then please reach out to us at support, SUPPORT, at fasttracksystem.com. We'll get that taken care of for you. And we'll cross-reference everything. Okay? All right. So that's that. I don't have any other announcements to make with that. Okay, so let's go on and check out some folks and welcome some folks this morning. What's up, Jonathan? Got mail coming for you, Jonathan. So good morning. Glad to have you here. We are great. Can't. I woke up again and she knew who I was, so that's always a great morning. What's up, Adam? Glad to have you here, Adam. 5 a.m. Okay, got your coffee ready. I ran out of coffee just before the show started, so I am coffeeless, diet Pepsi-less. So anyway, maybe somebody listening might be nice and bring me something. Who knows? All right. Anyway, what's up, Paul? Glad to have you here. I know you got some notice of some mail too. Jonathan says he wishes I was on at 5 a.m. Hail to the no. I ain't getting up that early. Sorry. Hope it's 5 a.m. If you're on the West Coast and you got it covered already. And I ain't getting up that daggone early. I'm probably up, but I'm not going to be on the air that early. I'm just saying. What's up, Erie? What's up, Fast Track student in the house? Erie, you need one of these to show that you're a code strong. There you go. Get your name on it. Holds about 15. This will hold 15 credit cards. I put everything, my licenses, everything in it, and then I use the money clip. Okay, and they're cheap, like $15. We pick the color because we have random colors, so you can pay more for the colored ones that you know the color you want, but not in this product. The one with the code strong and just random colors. This happens to be an orange one. All right, so let's just say, what's up, Beto B? Good morning. Glad to have you here. Let's see here. What's up, Adam? Says not only the master part code, he's the master salesman. Really? Do you think I am? What's up, Marlon? I always tell people. I used to tell people at Encore and Prismium. Well, Encore. I used to say I'm not part of the sales group, but I am. I used to tell them, like, dude, I'm no salesman. I'm just a code guy. But that was my way of keeping some distance. You know what I'm saying? So they don't ask me to do something I don't want to do because I'm a code guy. But they used to laugh and say, yeah, but you sell pretty good too. So what's up, Jonathan? Glad to have you here again. Oh, there you go. You're a student. You're just reminding us, and you're on all kinds of platforms. So you're gaming the system. Okay, you better watch out. You're liable to be investigated for gaming the system. Rob says, what's up, Trey? I'll help you understand the difference between type 3, type 4, type 5 buildings. Okay, cool. There's many ways that you can use and you have a mailer coming out too, Rob. You did order your own minimalist wallet, or did you win it? I can't remember what happened with that. Let's see. Good morning, everybody. I see Chris. I see you in here. What's up, Greg? I see you in here, my friend. Let's see here. Yusal, I love it. Started following along 2020s. Okay. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Welcome. Cray Cray's in the house from Music City. Welcome. Thank you. 5 a.m. is rough, but you're still driving. People get up early to work. Yeah, one thing I'll tell you about life for young folks, well, I say young, is that I will say people work very hard, and even in their off time, they're working. I mean, there's always going to have to be a time when you need to recharge and be with family. Even though my child seems to hate me, I took a vacation every year. I spent as much time as I could with my family. Early on, I was traveling a lot, teaching a lot, but I tried to spend as much time with my family. And again, you can't get time back, right? So make sure as I tell with CMECPs, the process of that process is a good life balance. Get enough of your code work done. Also have family life. Okay, don't make everything work. Now, I get it when you're young, you're in your 20s, your early 30s, you're like, work. I got to build for the future. I get it. I did it. But at the end of the day, gotta be living too, right? All right, let's see. Adrian, good morning. Glad to have you here. Let's see here. Let's see. Columbia, Missouri. Still in the 2017. But they should adopt the 2020 anyway. Well, yeah. Some states are extremely slow, right? What's up, Manny? Glad to have you here. Manny, did you get my message about the custom plates? There's a little delay on that because of a jig I got coming. So we'll work with you and get these plates. They're going to be very unique. And we got a lot that we're going to do with these plates because we get the new laser is going to be really good at putting very good detail on these plates. And these are going to be great novelty plates. And we have them already available on the website. But the jig that we have coming for our fiber is going to be different than what we have for the CO2. And I don't really want to use the CO2 because I really don't do anything but metal stuff anymore. So that's what we've got. What's up, Red Dog? I am doing good, my friend.
Woo, 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 woo. Big dog.
Good morning from New Jersey, Joseph. Glad to have you here. Angel, good morning. Glad to have you here. Santana, glad to have you here from Nebraska. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Samantha, good to see you, Samantha. You're popping back in here. Glad to have you here. Well, there's a blast from the past. What's up, Seraphim? Glad to have you here. I believe Seraphim was in our Fast Tracks program. Let's see. What's up, Leroy? Glad to have you here. Tony Ray. Howdy, howdy. Glad to have you here in the house. Tara is in the house from Alabama. Joe Wheeler Lake. That's what I'm talking about. I should hear about my boat the next day or two. I think they're probably done with my boat. And that way I'm going to be out on the water. Okay. Yeah. Jay says, good morning from Vegas. Jay, I'm going to be in your neck of the woods come Wednesday. Holler. I'll be at the Mandalay Bay. Let's go. Take you out to have a coffee, or maybe you're going to come to the NFPA. It's a great convention to come to. It's right in your backyard if you're there. All right. So we're going to continue on. Let me know, guys, again, who you are, where you're from in the comments. I appreciate it. They come on the screen. I'll let folks know. We're going to get back into finish this residential thing up. And we moved from the garages to now we're talking detached garages. So if you have any questions, let me go on and answer a code question that came in while it's still fresh on my brain. So a gentleman asked, and I'll pull it up from my phone really quickly. I say quickly, but it'll be the best I can. Let's see here. Let me see. Okay. It's kind of funny because if y'all know me, this question came from a guy named Joe J. Watanabe. You know, Watan. I usually don't call out names, but this is Wantabe. I was like, Jay, do you not understand? Y'all know what I'm talking about. I said, Jay, are you having trouble with a code question that you have to make up a fake name and send me a question? Dude, I'm not. I'll still answer code questions even to my haters. Okay, I don't mind. Anyway, he says, does a bathroom circuit require AFCI and GFCI protection? Okay, so very simple question, but again, many people want to know. So it's very broad. He says the bathroom circuit. So when we talk about bathroom circuit, we assume he's talking about the 20 amp. What's up, Poppy? He's talking about the 20 amp, the requirement to have the 20 amp branch circuit out there to serve the receptacles that are within 3 feet of the outside edge of the basin. Assuming that, because I would not consider the lighting circuit that you may run from another circuit to do the lighting. I don't consider that a bathroom circuit. Okay. So in that scenario, but let's go on and answer the code for him and answer the question. So first part of this code question, does the bathroom require GFCI protection? Okay. Well, here's 210.8. That's ground fault circuit interrupter protection. We're dealing with the dwelling unit, and right here, bathroom. So this A, by the way, is specifically for receptacles. Okay. That's where people get confused with 210.8. 210.8, the first part, A, is specifically receptacles. That's it. Receptacles in these locations, right? B is other than dwellings, but again, it's still just receptacles. So this is everything other than a dwelling. Then you get into the other requirements for crawl spaces, and this says outlets, so this is a lighting outlet. So obviously that's not receptacles. And then, of course, but receptacles are already covered up here, okay? In this area down here, right? Crawl spaces already covered right there. Okay. So anyway, that's that. And then of course you got specific appliances. I'm in the 2023 edition of the NEC, so keep that in mind. Your edition may be slightly different. So here, GFCI protection are provided for the branch circuit. So this is for the branch circuit that goes to these things, or outlet supplying the following appliances. Okay, so that's a or. So it's either the circuit for all these, or it's the outlet, which may be where they hardwire it, or maybe put a junction and then has a hardwired or a whip over to it, or maybe go straight into the appliance. Either way, okay, if it is an appliance that's 150 volts or less to ground, and it's got to be both here. That's why the and is there. And 60 amps or less. So 60 amps or less, and all those 150 volts or less to ground. So anything 120, 240 it's going to fall under this category up to 60 amps. Okay, so that's what all this is right here. Okay, so his question was, though, dwellings. So there you go. There's your bathroom for all receptacles. It doesn't matter. And as I always say, it doesn't matter if it's a receptacle to serve the countertop, a receptacle that you may install for the bidet. It may be a receptacle you install in the bathroom for a hydro massage bathtub motor, cord and plug. Yes, it's got its own rules in 680, but the reality is it's still a receptacle in the bathroom, so it's going to be GFCI protected, even though 680 is going to cover that anyway. Just think receptacles, if it's in the bathroom, which is a defined term. We talked about that yesterday. If it's in the bathroom, then it's got to be GFCI protected. Now, what about the AFCI component? Because that was part of his question. Okay, well, then we just go to 310.12. It's pretty simple. So the difference between 210.8A and A1 for bathroom is that is receptacle driven, whereas arc fault is circuit driven. Okay, that's why it says right here, if you look at it, the very beginning of everything here, and you get down to the locations, right, and the different options here, when you get down to dwellings, it says all 120 volt single phase 10, 15, and 20 amp brand circuits. Supplying outlets, and it's not just talking about receptacle outlets, okay? It's any outlet, lighting outlet, receptacle outlet. You could have a smoke alarm. I'm just saying, I can have a smoke alarm that is going to be on an outlet box, okay? That is going to require AFCI protection, right? Now, the location where those circuits are, okay, is all listed right here. So nowhere in this list says anything about a bathroom, okay? So a bathroom, I don't see it in here, dens, parlors, none of this thing. And none of these locations here are similar areas, okay? So not going to require to have the AFCI. Yeah, here's where a kink could come into it. You could have a large enough bathroom where you enter into the bathroom area, and then you have a separate entry into a closet area. And many people want to say, isn't the closet area part of the bathroom? No, the bathroom is defined with the sink and including a bidet, a toilet, a shower, a tub. Got to have a sink, but at least one of those other elements. If you go into a bathroom, but then you go through the threshold to get into a clothes closet, that's a clothes closet. And in a clothes closet, any closet requires AFCI protection. So got to be careful with how that applies, because if you're just going to pop off of that lighting circuit and you're going to hit the clothes closet light, let's say, then that's got to be AFCI protected. So by proxy, if you're coming off of the laundry lighting circuit and you're picking up the bathroom, and you happen to be picking up that closet, guess what? The code's going to say AFCI protection in there. So that means, how do you do it? I'm not going to run a whole separate circuit. I'm probably going to pick up that closet light off of a bedroom, which is required to have the AFCI protection. Get what I'm saying? So again, we have to think about it. But to answer that gentleman's question, bathroom circuit in general, no AFCI protection required for a bathroom circuit. And any circuit that's running in the bathroom would not be required to have AFCI protection, or the lighting, for example, or the exhaust fans would not be required. But you still have to have GFCI protection on all of those applications, okay? Let's see here. Jeremy says, how about if it's an existing bathroom and you're adding new lights? Again, there is no requirement for AFCI protection at all in a bathroom, okay? There's nothing in here that says that AFCI, those circuits, here's kitchens, living, dens, bedrooms, sunroom, rec room, closet, halls, laundry, similar areas to these here. There's nothing that would require you to put it. Now, can you? Sure. If you want, go for it. But it's not requiring you to have AFCI protection, okay? Be careful what we ask for. But the GFCI protection is required. Now, a lot of people ask, well, what about the lighting? It doesn't require GFCI protection unless that light is within that magical zone and the manufacturers dictate that you're going to be using it and have to add GFCI protection, then that's what you're going to add, GFCI protection, based on the manufacturer's instructions, okay? Battle says it seems like rooms, but yeah, but it doesn't stop there for the AFCI, because again, you have a list of all of these locations. Okay. And one day I'm going to talk about 10 amp circuits. Now I know that's a controversial topic. A lot of people arguing about the understanding of it, where you would use it or not. I am going to dedicate a show on 10 amp circuits. I am going to be very careful not to talk about any brand or manufacturer or any application, but I'm going to talk where I think that 10 amp circuits are a total waste. And again, from a electrician's perspective, it's just a total waste. Okay, but anyway, that's a future episode where I will get into that. So hopefully that answers the gentleman's question. GFCI on receptacles, yes. AFCI not required. That type of thing. Okay, all right. So let's get back to detached garages. All right, so at least one receptacle is required in a detached garage with electric power. That's 210.52G1. If you're in the Fast Tracks program, you know that anytime you see chevrons, stop, drop, and roll over to your code book. Okay, what's up, Ryan? Glad to have you here. So at the end of the day, be careful on an exam, because it might give a question about receptacle requirements, and it might have on there detached garage, and you're thinking, oh, it requires it to have. Good morning, Paula. What, David? Come on, bruh. I got moobs, but I ain't no Paula. I'm just saying. All right. So be very careful with the question, because in order to require receptacles in a detached garage, you got to have power. Let's see here. All receptacles installed in detached garages must have GFCI protection. Again, 210.8A2, as we saw that when we went and looked. Okay, so we have those garages. Good morning, Pedro. Good morning, David. Good morning, Ryan. Glad to have you here. Okay, so at least one wall switch control lighting outlet is required for a detached garage with electric power. So all of this is required. For example, I'm building a garage. It's going very slowly at this point. I'm still excavating the ground because I'm doing that myself with my toys, my excavation toys. But I'm not going to have power out there, right? So if that's the case, I'm not going to have power, then I'm not required to have lighting outlets. Obviously, I got no damn power. But be careful how they word questions, because the requirement for the lighting outlets, the requirement for receptacle outlets, and all of this kind of stuff is all dependent on whether there's power there or not. Okay? Ain't no power, none of this stuff's required. Okay? Makes sense? So just kind of, again, it's not like they're trying to trick you on an exam or in real life. It makes common sense. I'm obviously not going to put these things up if I ain't got no power out there, right? Makes sense? Let's see here. A detached garage with electric power requires at least one wall switch controlled lighting outlet to provide illumination on the exterior side of an outside entrance or exit with grade level access. That is 210.70A22. Again, this outlight, this is the inside because there is power here. You see the receptacle over here. So this is the lighting that's switched from right here for right here. Okay, but see this light right here, and I know it's hard to see, but right here where my mouse is, that light is required because of this entrance and egress right here, not because of this opening. This does not require any light. This is required because of this entrance. Now, if I have a floodlight right here and it puts out light for this entrance or for this garage door access, but it also puts out enough illumination to light up this, then that's all I would need. I don't have to have one here and then install another one over here. If whatever I install as illumination will adequately illuminate the entrance and exit to the actual garage, then I'm okay. But just remember that the garage door does not get counted in this scenario. And a lot of people will screw that one up as well on an exam. If a question asks you how many luminaires are necessary or whatever, and they may show you two openings like this, but it only applies to the actual egress and entrance, okay, or exit or entrance. It doesn't apply to the garage door. A lot of people get that wrong. All right, what about accessory buildings? You want to put a she shed out back, or a man shack is what we call them. Whatever you want to put. Smoke den. Okay, I got a guy who's got a neat one out back. He bought this big shed. This looked like a freaking mini house, but he bought it and he fixed it all out because his wife wouldn't let him smoke his cigars in the house, right? So he built him a man shack. And dude, he spends more time out there. It's got a big screen TV. And he just, he loves it. He decks it out. It's, he's a hunter. He's got his deer heads. I mean, he just chills out with it. I might get pictures of it one day. But dude, he's got his own little mini split in there, and dude, it's like frigid in there. You could cool your beer just sitting on a counter, but he loves it, and that's his little man shack. So all receptacles installed in accessory buildings. An accessory means it's accessory to the dwelling itself. Okay, so it is part of the dwelling. It's just on the same property. It's an accessory building. All receptacles installed in accessory buildings having a floor located at or below, so at or below grade level, not intended for habitable rooms. Okay, got to meet all the elements to be a habitable room, right? Heat, you got to have sleeping, living, cooking, and sanitation, that type of thing, in order to be even considered a habitable room, and minimum sizing based on the building code. Okay. Then it says limited to storage areas, work areas, and areas in similar use must have GFCI protection. Okay. So there you go. So these not intended for habitable use, storage area, work area, things like that, all of that must have GFCI protection. Lighting and receptacles are not required in accessory buildings. Okay, so lighting is not required. There is no requirement to provide electric power to detached garages or accessory buildings. That's another thing. A lot of people think when you're doing an accessory building or detached garage that they think that you must bring power to it. Okay, that is not true. You do not have to bring power to it. If you do bring power to it, then you've got specific rules that you have to meet. Okay. All right. Let's see here. What questions do we have? Adam says, in this day of age, I would keep all bathroom plugs. Let's use terminology correctly. Receptacles on their own circuit, and definitely would not put. Definitely would not put lights on the same circuit. I definitely don't want to be in the dark if you do the big bathroom. That's totally a preference. It's not code. So again, I don't generally comment on those things because I don't really care what somebody does. It's their install. It's their design. Nothing says it's right or wrong to do whatever they want to do. I don't have a fear of the lights going out in my bathroom. Okay. I don't have that fear. So I don't worry about that. And so at the end of the day, if the code allows me for a single bathroom to put the lighting and receptacles all on one, then I have no problem with it. It doesn't bother me. It's not going to hurt anything. I mean, to me, it's everybody's to their own type of thing. But again, everybody has their own preference. And that's a beautiful thing about the design. And that's the beautiful thing about residential too. So with residential, other than commercial where they tell you what to do, that's the beautiful thing about residential is you can develop your own style and what you like to do and where you put things and how you like to run circuits and things like that. Adam has his way. Somebody might disagree and have their way. At the end of the day, as long as it meets the minimum safety standard of the code, then it's okay. Everybody has different flavors. So again, you got to definitely respect that. Everybody has their own way of doing it. That's why I always like residential over commercial. I mean, people say, well, if you're a residential electrician, dude, how many switch gears do you do before you're like, dude, it's the same damn thing. I just terminate these conductors. It's all pretty self-done. The biggest part of commercial for me was always making sure that the raceways are in the right locations and everything pops up in the wall and you do your measurements right. Other than that, it's just simply reading a set of drawings. And I'm not downplaying it because you do have to bend the raceways. You do have to coordinate everything. I get it. But in a lot of cases, if you've done one, you've done a million. So I hate it when people jump on the residential electrician, then they jump on the commercial electrician, they jump on industrial, and then they say, well, you're just a resi, or it doesn't matter because it's all code, it's all electrical, it's all circuitry, it's just, different wiring methods. If you're an electrician, you're an electrician. Who gives a damn whether you do this more than this or this, and maybe you just do service work. You're still an electrician. So I never jumped on that bandwagon where people want to pound their chest. Resis don't do it as good as commercial guys, or a real electrician does 480 or 277. Last I checked, the electrons don't give a shit. So it's all electrical. Okay. So as a world, we got enough problems going on in the world. We can stop pounding our chest on all these social platforms thinking that one electrician's, better than the other. Although there are some electricians that do some shitty work And that is very evident on social media. Why people would want to share crappy work on social media and put their name out there, I don't even understand. There's a guy named Ben who's sharing these pictures on social media that Angry shares with me. Wow, I'm thinking, Ben? Really, Ben? You probably shouldn't be sharing this work because it kind of looks crappy. I'm just saying, cutting all kinds of corners. Anyway, it's kind of funny when a guy will use MC and take it through a non-metallic sheath cable connector, and it goes all the way in the box because there's no stop on it, because an MC connector is going to have a stop. They use they take pictures of it and share it, and they use a non-metallic sheath connector that's not listed for MC, and then it goes all the way through the connector into the box, and you can see the end of the armor into the box, and then he puts an anti-short bushing on it. And you got to scratch your head, and you go, really? You shared that? You used the wrong connector. It didn't secure the MCs coming in. The sharp edges are coming in, exposing in, not in a fitting. And yet you're still going to use an anti-short bushing, and you're going to take pictures of that, and you're going to put that on the internet. It doesn't do our trade very good justice, I'm just saying. What's up, Poppy? Poppy has a question. It says, in non-dwellings, 220.10, I only see garages commercial in the notes. Is the calculation at 3 VA per square foot? That doesn't, just the requirement for AFCI protection has nothing to do with the 3 VA per square foot. It's the circuit. The circuit itself is dictated by the location of that branch circuit. So it has nothing to do with that. Okay, so I'm not sure what you mean by that. If you look at the AFCI requirements right here, okay, and it talks about AFC, the means of protection, yada, yada, yada. And then it talks about here, dwelling units. This is all dwelling unit specific. Okay, so all of this has everything to do with dwelling unit. The only other thing, you've got dormitory units, okay? And then you got other occupancies. So you're dealing with the branch circuit, okay, because that's what it's talking about, branch circuit, okay, that is supplying guest room and guest suites of hotels and motels. Again, patient sleeping areas, sleeping quarters, and things like fire stations and what, like that type of thing, okay? So there is no requirement here for commercial application at all for AFCI protection yet. One thing to remember is that if you have a multifamily building, the inner parts, the hallways, the corridors, probably going to be qualified as commercial. The building itself may be commercial, but there is a reason why it's stated like this. Okay, dwelling units. So a multifamily building, 3 or more, the individual dwelling units have to comply with this requirement unless your state or local modifies something out of that. Okay, so again, this is very much talking about dwelling unit applications. So if you had a multifamily building, you may be under commercial codes, International Building Code. You have requirements for the corridors and all this kind of other stuff. But the dwelling units itself are still going to have to meet the requirements of 210.52 for spacing. They're still going to have to meet the countertop receptacle. It's a dwelling unit, so it has to meet all those rules, okay? So that portion of the building is not considered commercial. It has to follow the dwelling application rules. That makes sense? All right, let's talk about laundry areas, okay? And lighting. So laundry area, again, area. For example, this may be your hallway, right? And this may be just a little bump out in the hall, right? It's not even big enough to qualify as a habitable room. You can't go in it. It doesn't have the square footage. It's just, you say, is it a hall? Well, no, it's a bump out in the hall, okay? But it is the area that is being used for the laundry. So you have to have enough common sense, for example, to draw a line of demarcation right here and determine that this is the hall, right? And this is the area. So that's why the code uses the terms like areas, because it's the area that you're going to be working in for that laundry. I think one of the problems that folks do have with the NEC is that a lot of people really do, I mean this wholeheartedly, they really do think that the NEC is an installation guide. Even though the code is starting to require some certain things that may seem like an installation guide or an instruction manual, it is not. And it says it right up at the front of the code book in Article 990, excuse me. So you still have to be able to use some common sense, and you still have to have some positions that are there some inspectors can go too far? Yes, and that is those that probably take their job way too seriously. Although it's a very serious job to be an inspector, they sometimes will let their mind wander and create situations that are not really there, right? Okay. And the reason I say this is because let's look at this scenario right here. I can see where this is your laundry area. And here's the receptacle, let's say, that's required for the hall because it's 10 foot or more. So they require a receptacle in here. And so the electricians just puts it right here in the hall because it's conveniently located between rooms, right? Well, I can see an inspector saying, well, this is a laundry area. When these doors are open, all of this is a laundry area, and he wants this to be GFCI protected because it's in the laundry area. And my response to that is, come on, Mr. Inspector, come on. Let's not go too far, okay? Let's not create an issue that is not really there, right? This is not for the laundry area, okay? This isn't, all right? It is not, okay? So laundry receptacle outlets must be fed from a 20 amp branch circuit to 10.11C2. So there's your laundry circuit. That's required, okay? By the way, dryers are not required, but if you do install one, you have to account for it, especially in the load calculation, okay? And you're going to go to 220.54, and you're going to, hopefully you understand how to calculate for a dryer. Now, good news is you're going to use 5,000 or the nameplate, whichever is greater. But if you're doing an optional method, which 99.9% of the people will use optional calculations to size a dwelling's load, then basically you just take the nameplate and you follow the steps. And if you don't know how to do an optional calculation, you really do need to go to Fast Track's Tube and subscribe and watch the video where I explain you all the steps of an optional standard method, especially standard for an exam, but optional for the real world, out in the real world. Definitely need to add that to your repertoire. If you're just guessing at the size of your dwellings and just going, that looks like a 200, that looks like a 150, you really do need to step your game up and calculate. Every electrician should know how to do calculations, period. Okay? It's just part of your trade. It doesn't matter whether you ever actually you should know how to do one if you want to call yourself. I'm gonna pull the man card. Okay, I'm gonna pull the man or very educated lady card. I'm gonna pull that card and I'm gonna say, you need to know how to do calculations. Okay, I'm just saying. All right. So anyway, let's look here. So, but because now people say, okay, Paul, well, the GFCI requirement for the laundry area, that was in 210.8. We have that requirement. Okay, y'all all know that. That is there. That is not new to everybody in a dwelling unit. Okay, the laundry area is item number 11 at 210.8, so we all get it. And it says again, the code says all 125 through 250 volt receptacles installed in the area. So this is your laundry area. This happens to be a closed dryer. Guess what? It is in the laundry area. It's got to be GFCI protected. So it's got to be GFCI protected right there. Okay, and there you go. Now, the 120 that's required, there you go. That is a washer outlet. Okay, so this is a washer outlet with a device in it, a 20 amp receptacle. It has to be AFCI protected and GFCI protected. Will somebody just say, well, whoa, what do you mean AFCI? Well, if you remember, 210.12, in that list of 210.12, one of the items in that list was laundry area. That was item number 13 of 210.12, okay? So 210.12B13 said laundry. So that right there is to be AFCI and GFCI protected. But this receptacle out here, this is just added probably off a general use branch circuit. No, you don't add any additional 180. There's no 180 VA used in a dwelling, by the way, folks, okay? You either use the 3 VA per square foot for those circuits, or you do small appliance and laundry that require 1,500 VA to be added to the calculation. Or if it's a specific load to a specific appliance, then you're going to use 220.14a, and you're going to size that branch circuit and the load in accordance with whatever the load is. okay, whatever its value is, okay, whatever its nameplate value is, whatever the load that you're actually serving. Good, okay. Jonathan, honestly, do you think the average electrician doesn't know how to do calculations? Jonathan, I've been doing this for 40 damn years. Jeremy. Yeah, I do think the honest electrician doesn't. I make a damn living off of it, Jeremy. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've taught probably over 100,000 electricians. Ask electricians that are in this room that fail exams because they don't know how to do the calculations. So yeah, I think the average electrician doesn't know how to do calculations. Actually, I honestly do. 100%, because I do this every day. I talk to electricians every day. And I can tell you they don't. Now, not all calculations, but do they know how to do all calculations? The average electrician? No, they don't. And everybody out there watching, be honest with yourself. Okay? So again, but that's why we learn, right? That's why we take classes and stuff like that. But yeah, you got to remember, because you may know something, you're not the average electrician. If you know and have knowledge of something, then you've educated yourself. But not everybody out there. I mean, thank Jeremy. I just got a question from somebody, in all fairness, who wanted to know whether AFCI and GFCI was required in a bathroom. That's much simpler than a calculation, but they didn't understand that, and they're electricians. Okay, so again, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of electricians all over the country. Why do you think they sell books on calculations? Why do you think we sell courses that talk about calculations? Again, it just is what it is. I've been doing this for damn near 40 years. So yeah, unfortunately, but they can learn it, right? They can learn it, okay? David's correctly. Many are installers. They still wear the moniker as electrician, because once you get that license, you are. That was also a reason why I created the CMECP program, was for master electricians to take their game to the next level and be even more proficient with the NEC, because we're constantly learning, that type of thing, okay? All right, so where was it? So yeah, I do think a lot of the average electricians don't know how to do calculations, or if asked to do a full calculation on a multifamily dwelling, or to do the standard method, or to do multi-outlet assembly calculations, or to do motor calculations, short circuit ground fault protection, overload protection, sizing, all those type of calculations. Yeah, I think that the average electricians probably stumble on a lot of calcs. But that's okay, because you can learn. That's why we do these things. Okay, so laundry area is listed in 210.11a, 210.811a11. Okay, yep. And GFCI protection is required for clothes dryers because it is in that laundry area and it's covered under that scope. Oh, by the way, just as y'all know this, but one of the big differences between AFCI and GFCI as far as the differentiator is that in AFCIs, you'll see that it talks about the 120 volt. That is because that's about the circuit, where the circuit goes, okay? And then the criteria at the end is what it supplies, outlets and things like that. Not receptacle, it's just outlet in general, okay? And so it devices in general, like switches, receptacles, those are devices. And so lighting outlets, your luminaire mounts on the lighting outlet, but that lighting outlet in an area that is required for that circuit to be AFCI protected, that's all dictated. So 120, you know that's talking, you see anything in the code or you see anything on an exam that's talking 120, then it's talking, or 240, it's talking about the circuit. When you see something that mentions 125 and 250, then that should be a trigger to you that they're talking about a device. They're talking about the receptacle itself, because that's a NEMA rating, okay? Just in case you ever run into it and you get confused, make sure you know what you're talking about. For example, 210.8a is dealing with receptacles, okay? C and D are dealing with either an outlet, a lighting outlet for C, or D in 210.8 is dealing with specific appliances, that type of thing. All right, so the dryer's outlet here, receptacle outlet right here, must have an insulated, grounded, neutral conductor. And again, this is a 4-conductor layout, downstream, separation, that type of thing. I believe started in 95. I can hold me to that. Okay. It says the closed dryer outlet must have an insulated grounded neutral conductor and an equipment grounded conductor per 250.138 because this 240 volt receptacle, okay, is located in a laundry area and is installed to supply clothes dryer. It shall be ground fault circuit interrupt protection for personnel 210.8A11. And of course, it's also listed in 210.8D11 as well. Okay. Now, why is that important? Well, why is the D one important? This one, right here, D. Hold on here. Hold on. 2.8D. Oops. Hold on, right here. Oops. Hold on here. D11, 210.8D11. I think this is supposed to be 422, to be honest with you. So I'm going to go real quick. I think that's a poop. Let's go to 422. Boop. And let's go boop. Here. Okay, so we don't have a list. So here is, by the way, this is the appliance in 422 is appliances, okay? Not sure what this is referring to. It used to be, I think D11 had some reference here, but I think that's a typo. So anyway, here is specific types of appliances. Now you see dishwasher, sump pump, vending machine, yada, yada, this type of thing in the 2023, okay? But when it comes to 210.8, let me get back here. 8, right here. Let me get back here. All right, so we're in the dwelling. It says, here's your laundry area. That's the A11. And I'm not sure what its references to D11 is. I'm not sure. I'm going to assume that they're talking about other than dwellings because that's what I would be talking about. And so this is going to also pick up requirements for things like the dryer or laundry areas that would be, for example, in, let's say, for GFCI protection for like commercial laundries or things like that, or the laundry area in a multifamily dwelling where the laundry area may be not part of a dwelling unit, but separate. So that would be an example of other than a dwelling unit, right? So you come down here and you'll look here at 14. I think that's what they're trying to refer to. So that is a requirement for laundry area right here under other than dwelling, okay? So still required laundry area, still gonna make those requirements, okay, for these 125 through 250 volt receptacles, okay? So I'm thinking that's more in line with what it's trying to say here. Height requirements for laundry receptacle outlets are not specified except that they shall not be located more than 5.5 feet above the floor because that is a laundry receptacle that's required by code. And so you still have to remember the height requirement. The only other thing I'll tell you is that there are cord length requirements and how far a receptacle can be away from something like a washing machine. So we have cord length requirements or distance requirements in order to make sure that you're within proximity, those type of requirements. Attic spaces. Okay, up in an attic. So attic space is used to store or contain equipment requiring services. So maybe you have an attic that has your unit, air conditioning unit, air handler. Maybe you can go up there through steps. So you can access it. Maybe you have pull downs. We have different rules depending on what you're dealing with. In my house, I have nothing but access holes, nothing but scuttle holes. And none of my equipment, thank goodness, is up there. That was what my other house had. Hated it. Now everything I have is down in the basement, easily serviceable. I love it. Okay. That's part of the reason we had the way we like this house that we're in now. So attic space is used for storage and containing equipment requiring servicing shall have at least one lighting outlet. Okay. So you have to have lighting. Okay. Where the lighting outlet is installed for equipment requiring servicing. So if you have a piece of equipment up that's for servicing, then I have to have a light for servicing it. Okay. And it says the lighting outlet shall be installed at or near the equipment. So 210.70C. Now, if I have a light up there, it's not a big area. That light could serve double duty, right? It could have the light is lighting the area, but it also would be lighting the actual equipment, okay? So that's 210.70C. At least one wall switch shall be located at the usual entry and exit to the attic space. Okay, so the moment you get into the attic space, we need a switch. Okay, can it be outside of the attic space? Like say you have steps pulled down and there's a switch right on the wall? Yes, that's right at the entrance, that type of thing. So that would be perfectly acceptable to switch on the light up there. And by the way, people ask me, what is a need for something like an illuminated switch? And that's a great example of illuminated switch to show you that when it's lights on in the attic, the little switch will be illuminated. And that way you don't leave a light running all the time. So a lot of people have in the past used to do that. I don't know if they do that anymore. If you put the switch down low. It says, if the lighting outlet contains a switch and is located at a usual port entry, a separate switch may not be required. So what this is talking about is that if I have a scuttle hole and I poke up in there and there is a keyless and I can just pull a switch or a chain, then I don't need an additional switch at the entry. I can just use that switch. That's perfectly fine. Okay. Cables not installed within framing members, and that means maybe installing them on the surface of rafters or on the side of the studs or whatever up in an unfinished area, up in an attic. It says cable not installed within framing members may need protection up to a height of at least 7 feet. Okay, now you can have reductions when you have scuttle holes versus a accessible attic, like stairs that are built in that you just go permanent stairs, right? You just go right up into the stairs. There is a difference. Now, one of the things to remember real quickly is if you get this scenario, whether you're dealing with a scuttle hole or a permanent access to an attic, for example, you're going to be looking for these rules of protection in NM cable. You're going to be looking at MC cable. And I want to remind you that all of those are in dot 23, and they're probably going to defer you over to 320, which is for AC cable. This is a case where they're just not worth being redundant. We'd be saying the same thing over again in 320.23, 330.23, and 334.23. So since it would be redundant, they're typically going to refer you over to 320, and that means that everything you read in 320 for AC cable, even though you're not using AC cable, everything that they demand for AC cable under section 23 of 320 is going to be applicable to non-metallic sheath cable. Okay, so that's why it makes that reference, and when it's referenced, it's applicable. Okay, even though it's not the same wiring method. Okay. Under crawl spaces. Oh, by the way, since we're here, let's go look at that real quick, because again, let's go look at the 320. And just kind of give you an idea, because there is a 6 foot and there is a 7 foot rule. So it's easy to go look at it so that you can get a better understanding. So remember, whether you're in non-metallic sheet cable or MC cable, when it comes to the attic spaces, it's going to ultimately send you to 320. Okay. I know that 320 is armored cable, but it's going to send you there. And it's going to say you follow these rules. So here's where it sends you. Okay. So if I'm using non-metallic sheet cable and it sends me here, just forget that, don't forget we're still talking about NM cable. And I have had other students in the past right here. Right also applies to NM cable and MC cable. That just for reference. That's totally up to you. Don't write in your code book unless you're in a jurisdiction that lets you do it. If you already have your license, then you can write all the hell you want in your code book. Nobody cares. All right, so it says cables running across the top of framing members. Okay, it says where run across the top of framing members or across the face of rafters and studs within 7 feet. Okay, so again, remember what we're talking about. Here's your attic. So 7 feet. It's like putting a dome over it, like putting an umbrella on it. 7 feet, all directions. If you have these open rafters, if you have these open studs, and you're going to be putting the wiring method on the face, okay? Not drilling and boring holes, on the face. Okay, that's what we're talking about. All right, so if that's the case, and it says you're doing that in studs within 7 feet of the floor or horizontal surface, it says the cable shall be protected by guard strips that are at least as high as the cable. So basically 2x4s on either side of it so that if you stepped on it, you wouldn't step on the cable. You'd step on the 2x4. That's what we're talking about for guard strips, okay? Now, it says where the space is not accessible by permanent installed stairs or ladders, okay? Scuttle hole. It's not permanent. You just get a ladder to get up there. It says, okay, well, then protection shall only be required within 6 feet nearest the edge of the scuttle hole of the attic. Okay. And they don't have a picture, but here you can see it says a permanent installed stairway is typically one that is built in place and that is constructed new is built in compliance with the applicable building codes. A permanently installed ladder is simply a ladder that is installed so that the access to the attic can be accomplished without having to bring a portable ladder to the attic access location. Permanently installed stairs and ladders promote use of the attic space for storage. I mean, obviously it's inviting you to do that. And obviously that means that the framing members have been beefed up to support additional loads because it's giving you an access. Okay, whereas a scuttle hole may not be the case. All right. So which leads to damaged cables and things like that. So again, just be aware of that. Okay. Now it goes on to say cables installed parallel to framing members. Okay. So if I'm installing them parallel to framing members, okay, and y'all all know what I mean by that, parallel. So I'm running these cables and I'm running them along the side of the framing member or side of the floor joist. I'm not running on top of it. I'm on the side of it. I'm running it with the side of the rafter, parallel with it, rather than perpendicular to it or running it on a surface. If I'm running it there, then I'll just have to follow the rules of 300.4D. And what does that mean? It means it has to be set back a distance of at least 1.25 inches from the edge of the framing member to the edge of the cable assembly. Okay, it has to be that separation. Okay, as long as you do that, it's fine. It's going to be considered protected, and you don't have to do anything else to it. Make sense? It should make sense. Okay, all right. What about crawl and underfloor spaces? Okay, all right. So we're in a crawl space. So crawl spaces with lighting outlets require at least one switch located at the usual entry or exit to the crawl space. Okay, so that's 210.70A. So here's your exit. And we got a little switch right here, okay? And this is going to turn on this light, and we obviously have something here that needs to be serviced. Okay, now it does say if the luminaire contains a switch like a keyless with a pull chain, okay, and it's located at the usual entry point, a separate switch may not be required. But if I have a pull chain further back near the appliance and I don't have the switch near the entrance, then it's going to facilitate the fact that I have to add an additional switch near the entrance so that I don't have to crawl. And you guys appreciate this. I am not going to be crawling across a crawl space hunting for a luminaire to pull a pull chain, okay? Especially if I'm going down to service a piece of equipment, okay? Now, that lighting outlet, you remember what we saw earlier? It's 120 volts or less. It is going to be required to be GFCI protected. So that lighting, now we all know that the receptacles down there are going to be GFCI protected, right? But we also have to make sure that lighting outlet is GFCI protected. Now, I can hear now somebody says, that's all I need is to get under there in the dark and the GFCI trips and the light goes out. Yeah, but we'd much rather you crawl around in the dark than to be electrocuted, okay? And there has been historical data of people getting electrocuted in crawl spaces due to some of the less than stellar wiring that takes place in these crawl spaces, okay? So again, now it says a 125 volt single phase, again, receptacle requirement. Single phase 15 to 20 amp rated receptacle outlet shall be installed in an accessible location for the servicing of equipment. There's equipment down there, I have to have it. It needs to be within 25 feet, okay? Now, the receptacle shall be located on the same level and within 25 feet. Same level. Not upstairs, not through an access upstairs, same level as the equipment, okay? So access it from the same level, okay? The receptacle shall not be connected to the load side of the equipment's branch circuit disconnecting means, okay? 210.63, okay. So this talks about the 25 feet. This talks about the service receptacle. It makes it very clear that you can't get in there and say, wait a minute, I'm running a circuit for this unit down there. I'll just tap off of the disconnect, the load side, and do that. No, you will not do that, okay? Now, if you're running a circuit, unless it's stated as a dedicated circuit or an individual branch circuit to a piece of equipment with only can have that load on it, a lot of times people can make junctions, and there are allowances that you can do. And depending on your installation, you may be able to make a connection on the supply side, but you're going to have to take the load into consideration. You're going to have to do a load calc, that type of thing. It may require additional disconnect in order to turn that into a feeder, in order to make a feeder tap. I'm not here to be your instructor for that. Again, I'm not going to get into all the possible ways that you could do something, but the code makes it very clear that you're not going to make this connection on the load side of that branch circuit, okay? Just because it's convenient, okay? I know people do stuff all the time. I know a guy who will use the equipment ground in an NM cable to a building all the time when he's trying to achieve a neutral or trying to achieve something and use the equipment ground for an intent that it wasn't intended to be used for all the time. Okay, I see it happen. They need 240 volts and they only have 120 out there, so they end up using the black and white and that type of thing, but they also need a neutral. So what do they end up doing? They end up using the equipment ground because they say, oh, it goes back to the same place anyway. That is not how it works, okay? I've also seen people have a 240 volt circuit to a detached structure and then they tap off of that. Maybe it's a pump or something in there and they tap off of that in order to try to get the 120 volt loads, and it's a 240 volt circuit, and they end up thinking, well, there's an equipment ground there. That goes back to the same location. Well, hell, I'll just connect to that. And they take one hot conductor and connect it, and then they use the bare as their neutral. You can't do that. But do I see it? Have I seen it? Absolutely, I've seen it. Will it work? Probably, but it'll energize parts, and if there's some reason in there it could fault out, it's probably going to trip. But if I've seen it actually work, because it's isolated in a piece of non-metallic sheet cable or something, or in some type of wiring method where it's not going to be ground faulting out, they do it. And you're not supposed to. It creates a hazard, right? Okay, so again, at the end of the day, people do things for the dangest reasons. Why? I don't know why, but they do. I guess it's lazy. Yes, they say, well, it's going to raise the cost to the customer. Who cares? Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, I never cared about the cost to the customer. I never cared. My brother cares. I never care. If it's going to cost me to do something, I'm not here to go, oh, well, I feel bad. It's going to cost you another $150. No, bullshit. If I've got to do the work, to do it right, you're going to pay. Well, I do a lot of work for this people they don't really have anything and they got no money. And they just need it done because I'm doing it out the goodness of my heart. So I'm going to circumvent the code and do something dangerous, right? I'm going to do something dangerous because I'm worried about the cost for these people. Wake the hell up. You increase your liability by doing that. Remember, you can refuse to do anything. You're not pressured to do anything. Walk away. Walk away before I were to do something that's going to increase liability to me. You hear what I'm saying? Walk away. Now, battle, you said line side. Remember, it's a separate load. So did you size the load for that additional load for the line side? And if you do that, are you following? Because if it's not a feeder, it's a branch circuit, are what you're doing allowed? Because you can't use feeder tap rules because it's not a feeder. So we have to be careful. We have to make sure we either calculate it for the entire load. Maybe we did it in a junction box and all this, but we have to make sure that we're accounting for the branch circuit because the branch circuit has to be sized to handle the entire load. Well, what is the load? Okay. Secondly, we have to be careful because a lot of that equipment is required to be specific, dedicated, or individual branch circuit for that piece of equipment. So that means that's all that can be run to that piece of equipment. Running a service receptacle for that would not be germane to that, so that would be a problem too. So a lot of things to take into consideration, not just because it's easy and convenient. Okay? We have to take all of those things into the scheme of life. He's like, but it's no big deal, okay? But people do it, And again, just remember, everything in electrical, at some point, if you do it, it can come back to haunt you. You know what I'm saying? So we just want to be careful we're not creating things that could come back and haunt us. Worst thing you want to do is be moving on with your life and feeling really good and have somebody knock on your door and go, hey, Mr. Abernathy, guess what? You're being served. Why am I being served? Well, you know that installation you did 10 years ago? Yeah. and you didn't do it to code, yeah, somebody got hurt, and you think the statutes of limitations going to protect you? Absolutely not. If you do something that's wrong, and you may think that you know the people very well that you do that kind of stuff for, until something happens. And if they lose their house, or somebody gets hurt, or something happens, or they go to try to sell that house and now a home inspector finds it and they point it out, and somebody wants that owner's now losing money, and it's all a negotiation, they end up coming back and suing you. I know some lawyers. Lawyers sometimes would be the cheapest SOBs in the world. They'll want you to do something on their house, and they want you to cut every corner. But I can y'all know what I'm talking about. But they're the first people that'll sue you. And if you did it wrong, how do you testify that when you know it was wrong? How do you are you going to lie, or are you going to tell the truth? I just always, now look, I'm not saying I'm holier than thou. I'm just saying most of the time when it came to circuits and situations like that, I just followed the code, because I'm like, you know what? That electrician that walks in and puts that ceiling fan in a regular old nail-up box and thinks, hey, that nail-up box is good enough. Ain't nobody looking. I can get in and do this. I can do this ceiling fan and get out of there in an hour and make me $175, $200, whatever it is. I don't have to crawl in the attic. I don't have to put in that light box that supports the fan. Ooh, I could just, nobody will know. That fan, this is a light fan. It doesn't weigh that much. Until it falls on somebody. Ask me how I know. I got called in a case where an electrician came in, put a ceiling fan in a baby's room, and the ceiling fan literally fell down. Actually, funny story, in my house in McKinney, somebody had put a ceiling fan in the office prior to me buying it. That house was built in 2010. I didn't move in until 2014. The office, obviously it had a regular luminaire. They put a ceiling fan in it. I'm sitting there one day recording, got the ceiling fan on, and guess what happens? The shit falls out of the ceiling. I ain't lying. I'm not, so help me God, I'm not lying. And you're thinking, well, that's your house, Paul. How can that happen? Because I didn't wire it. I'm not going and pulling shit down to see whether they did stuff right. I bought the damn house. So I ended up redoing it, putting in the right box, and re-putting the ceiling fan up. Okay, the way it should have been done the first time. I'm just saying. This house was like brand new. It was only 4 or 5 years old, I guess. Well, maybe it was 2009. That's when it was built. I got it in 2014. Okay. So anyway, point is, somebody added something later and it fell out of the ceiling. Vibration over time, the inertia, moving, I don't know. All I know is I know what happened. Okay. So I'm just saying, hey, Paul, it'll never happen. Okay. Famous last words. It'll never happen. I just prefer to protect myself. I'm an electrician. I'm going to do it right. And if that means I have to run another circuit, if that means I have to do a little more, if that means I have to make an extra trip to the supply house, they're paying for it. Trust me. I don't do anything out of the goodness of my heart when I was a contractor. Okay. Not me. I'm okay. I might add a receptacle here, there, whatever for spacing or their request to keep a customer happy. But if it's significant, my brother will do anything for you. Me? Sorry. I was that contractor. If when I did the work, I'm getting paid. I'm sorry. It's just the way I was in business. All right. So, and I kept it very professional. I documented everything, itemized everything. They knew exactly what they were getting for their money. Okay. So crawl spaces. Receptacle outlets required GFCI protection were installed in a crawl space that is at or below grade level. I mean, that would be the crawl space. Okay. Underfloor space is used for storage containing equipment requiring servicing. Shall have at least one lighting outlet. We already established that. Okay. That the lighting outlet, a lighting outlet is installed for equipment servicing. The lighting outlet shall be installed at or near the equipment. Okay. But also remember that it may be serving multiple roles, the lighting the area, plus the equipment. If that's fine, then it'll work. GFCI protection shall be provided for that lighting outlet. Again, this right here, folks, this is a lighting outlet. This is a keyless. This is a lamp, not a light bulb. It's a lamp in a keyless that's installed in a lighting outlet box. Okay. So this rule in 210.8c is going to require that. Okay. Now, we're equipment operating at 1,000 volts nominal or less to ground and likely to require examination, adjustment, servicing, and maintenance while energized is required to be by instructions or function to be located in the space with limited access. So this is that limited access rule, right? So this is that 110.26A4. Y'all are familiar with 110.26, right? You've got your distance requirements for servicing of equipment. You've got your side requirements, 30 or 30 inches or the equipment, whichever is greater. Your height requirement up to equipment. So you have this working space that you have to work in, right? Well, you also have a requirement for that limited access space that's followed, and that is A4. And so again, this space right here, this opening, has to be adequate enough to be able to pass the equipment through. But it does have some requirements here. It says that limited access, such as a crawl space, there shall be an access opening not smaller than 22 by 30. Okay, so it can't be smaller than 22 by 30, but common sense is going to dictate, okay? Common sense is going to dictate that that opening is going to be adequate to pass the equipment through, okay? Now, but there's minimum for code and there's minimum for exams. So 22 by 30 is your minimum access to this crawl space, okay? Now, when it comes to the working surface, if I have a disconnect down there that I would be taking voltage readings or I will be testing voltage or have an access panel to equipment that's going to have to be open to do servicing. And obviously, if I'm going to take voltage readings or the HVAC guy is going to do voltage reading or somebody's going to do voltage readings to our equipment, then I'm going to be servicing it. Okay, I'm going to be examining it. Then these working space requirements are there. It's just that we have, obviously, since this is a limited space, I can't get the height requirement. But I have to be at least as high as the equipment, right? Obviously, to be able to get it in there and be in that space. And I still have my other working space requirements. So the width of the working space, and say this is an access panel right here, where you'd be taking voltage readings and things like that. So the width of the working space shall be the width of the equipment enclosure or a minimum of 30 inches, whichever is greater. Doesn't that sound familiar? Now, we don't have the height. It's got to be at least as high as the equipment and the space to be able to put that equipment in there. But the width has to still be 30 inches or greater, whichever is greater, okay? 30 inches or the equipment, whichever is greater, all right? Still have that requirement, okay? You still have your working space requirement that you have to meet. Okay, you're still going to be deferred to 110.26A1. You're still going to need your 3 feet in most cases, those type of applications. So again, just remember, when we say limited, usually the only limitations here is you obviously can't get the height you need for this. So we had to come up with a rule that allows for this, okay? So that's where it came from. So this is, again, 2023. Edward says, let's see, what do we got, Edward? Edward says, do you think the incandescent light is hanging down and exposed could pose a safety hazard? Maybe or maybe not. That's not really anything. It's not near combustible material. That's going to be up to the AHJ, that type of thing. But yeah, I wouldn't say that in that graphic that it is that type of thing. Nothing says that I have to put a dome on it, clear it. I can use incandescents in there if I want. It's very typical to use a incandescent in there if you could still find them. Most people are going to just put LEDs in there now for longevity, or most people are going to put a CFL. If it was in a location where I thought it could be damaged, I'm going to be prudent as an electrician. I'm probably going to put a protective cage on it, or I'm going to just move it out a little bit. In this case, it's just for illustration purposes in this graphic. So the probability is that it probably would be a little further away than that, but I can't say at this point that it is, it's not really a dimensional type of drawing, that type of thing. But if it is somewhere that is obviously subject to physical damage and things like that, it can be damaged easily, then your AHJ may make you move it or may put a cage or protector or enclose the lamp or whatever that they deem necessary, that type of thing. But yeah, I don't know about that one. That one is, that's just a depictional image, that type of thing. Reflection, okay, y'all don't have to worry about doing any of that stuff. Okay, that's for our students. Okay. All right, so hopefully you got something out of that little lesson. That's going to pretty much cover all of our main 25,000 foot, 30,000 foot view dwelling application. Hope you got something out of it. 3 parts, part 1, part 2, part 3, covering the basics, but again, it's residential basics, things you really should know if you're going out there and doing residential. So let me do a couple reminders, folks, for those that are still here. We're going to spin the wheel, so remember to hit the hashtag win. We have a couple things. I want to shout out real quickly again to the individuals that we have not sent out your stuff. We'll send it next week. If you send us your address, make sure that you send it to us. I'm going to give you the email address to send it and what you need to put in the subject line. And so, D'Angelo Larenega, Trenton Dormert, Miles Mahoney Music. We can't find your mailing address, so resend those to us. In the subject line, put winner. In the text area, in the area where you do the message, please put in there your full name, your username on the social platform, and your mailing address, please, so we can correlate all that stuff. That is for the ultimate coin winners. We don't have any of y'all's. We can't find any of y'all's mailing addresses. Mike Caldry. Mike, you won a Voltage Drop card. We cannot find your mailing address. So, Mike, if you're watching this, please do the same thing. And you're going to email this to support, SUPPORT, at fasttracksystem.com. Next is the conductor length card. We could not find the mailing address for Ray Levanders. Ray Levanders, if you're in here or you catch up or you see this one, follow those instructions I just gave and let us know. For the custom plate, Red Dog and Manny Sanchez, be patient. We're waiting for a new jig to come in because, again, those are bigger, and we want to make sure that we're not reinventing the wheel here on our fiber laser. That's the old CO2. We don't use the CO2 much anymore, so that jig should be in probably in the next week or two. So we'll get you with you and see what you want on the design and add what you want. Trade Hog, Terrence and Red Dog, you got the Trade Hog subscription as well, the basic 12-month access. Give us another week for us to get that because we found a little glitch with the annual, because that's a month-to-month thing. But we found a little glitch with the annual thing when Jeff was testing it. So give us, we've never done an annual, and that's a totally different software. So we have to make sure we get that before we release that annual thing. And we'll get you set up so you can get 12 months of your Trade Hog. And I think you'll like it. Once you get it, your patience. Let's see, what else? Everybody that won, I think Ben, I saw Ben, I think you're here, Ben Mena. You may have done this or not. You won a wire waffle. We cannot find your mailing address for that. So follow the same things I just told you to do. Go to support, SUPPORT, at fasttracksystem.com. In the title, put winner, and then in the body, let us know your username, your address, and your full name, and all that kind of stuff. We'll get you some wire waffles out. And then David Scott, I believe, we can't find your address either for your wire waffles. So let us know, that type of thing. Everybody else, don't ask if we mailed it. If you don't get something in 2 weeks, then let us know. But we should have sent everything out that we have listed for. So again, whatever. Also, lastly, if you want to get one of these, they're very limited because we are limited still on the minimalist wallets. So if you've been thinking of getting one, get them while we got them. They're at a really good price, $15.95 or something like that. It used to be $29 or $39, and we will engrave your name. Just let us know in the comments when you order what you want put on it. But we have the new ones for Code Strong on there as well. This happens to be like the one that I use now. I have my name on it, that type of thing. All right, folks, let's spin the wheel and give some goodness away, or at least get you for the drawing. We're getting rapidly closer to June 30th, and we will have it. Everything that you win will come out much quicker next quarter. Why? Because I have a young lady who's handling that for me. Sarah is handling that. She's a part-time, but that's all she's doing with that and a couple other things. But that's the main thing that she's doing. She's also helping with the CMECP mailers and things that we send out for that. And that program's going to ramp up even more, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. That's after I get back from the NFPA thing. We've got a promotion for the CMECP thing going out, but anyway, she's going to be working on that. But anyway, you'll have a separate email for the next drawing. and we don't have to worry. It'll go right to one place and make life a lot easier for everybody. But it is what it is right now. All right, so let's go on and spin and get some giveaways here. We'll do 4 giveaways this morning. David, yours came out. I sent you your promo card. David, CMECP David, and also threw a couple other little goodies in there for you, David. Here you go. It's not goodies you don't already have, but we want to give you a little bit, a little more. I think we put in there another CMECP coin and another pin to show that pride. I know you do. All right, so it looks like David Bueno, you're in the drawing for the knife. We still have a few knives, and we have not got the new ones. I don't know if the tariffs are on the issue with that or whatnot, but we have not got the new knives in yet. So hopefully that'll come. But and then we'll let you have a choice if you want. All right, let's spin again. If you win, if you win. What else? Oh, we got a waffle winner, Santana. So Santana, we are, all you got to do is email us your mailing address. Oh, let me show y'all those real quick. Hold on for a second. Let me get up. Let me leave the studio. Way across the room over here. Way back over here. Okay. So some of you are getting them in these little mailers. Not all of them are going to have these little mailers. So this is the latest batch that we got from the folks. But there's your wire waffle. Again, we only really want 1 per customer. So if you win a wire waffle multiple times and you already won one in the past, be kind and let us know. We only, we're not here to be a supplier of wire waffles. We want people to try these and get them in their hand and see what you think and give your feedback to Hunter and them. It solves a need. We're giving these away on the promotion, but we really, let more people get used to them. So again, we're not going to be a supplier for you. So if you win one and you already have one or you won one in the past, just let us know so that we can spin it for somebody else can have a chance to win it. But anyway, some of them will come like this in your mailer. And basically it's got the address and the instructions. It's pretty self-explanatory, by the way. But anyway, thank you, Hunter, for sending those to us for giveaways. So Santana, email us at support@fasttracksystem.com and let us know your username, obviously Santana, and your full name and your mailing address. And we will get you a sample. If you don't want it, just let us know and we'll let somebody else win it. Okay, that's what we do here. Okay, no, we share the love between everybody. If you don't want one, just let us know. All right. So anyway, Alberto, we got you down for the knife. Okay, folks. At any rate, love having you all here. Hope you all have a great day. Remember, tomorrow through the end of the week is going to be recordings. It's not going to be live. Okay, so keep that in mind because I always get people to go, is this live? No, it won't. It'll say in the description that it is a replay because I am going to be out. Now, I will do little snippets of videos and share them on our social platforms. Usually it's going to be on Facebook, and it may still, as much as I hate them, it may be on TikTok as well because it's so easy to share things on that platform. But, I hate it, but it's a necessary evil. And since I'm on a business trip, the business side of us, we do use TikTok. We do use Facebook. Only one I don't use is Instagram anymore, so I won't be sharing anything there. But anyway, that's the deal. All right. All right, folks. Good luck. Have a great rest of your week. We will catch you live next Monday, but you will enjoy the replays. Again, you get to get your morning going with us every morning. So again, I appreciate it. Till next time, folks, stay safe. God bless. And again, all of the stuff from the Q1, except for the folks I mentioned earlier, all of your stuff is out in the mail. You should have already gotten a notification via email. And so again, congratulations. And we're getting close to the next drawing. And I'm telling you, we have a lot of people that we're going to have to put on a list. Okay. So take care. God bless. And Paul, you're absolutely right. June 30th is most certainly my birthday. Peace out.